beginning, when I heard about this, I was new in town. I didn't know very many people. And my daughter brought home this book that was supposed to be so controversial. She wanted me to read it and see if I thought it was offensive. When she brought home the notice that this program was offered, I went to see and to meet these people so we could compare our opinions and ideas.
Fry local school district covers an area of 180 square miles. It's predominantly farm country, rural area that does have 3 small towns located within its boundaries. Religion, church are really a central part of the people's lives here. In addition to that, the American Legion is very active in community affairs, and the kinds of values in terms of America and pride in our country, I'm impressed with that, and I see the people here being actively involved in trying to say to their children, this is a great country.
Books Our Children Read was a project that started at Fort Fry a couple of years after I began teaching there. Let's turn to chapter 14. Let's begin there on 124. I was teaching a book called A Day No Pigs Would Die. I had had some parents questioning some things about the book. She came to me, muzzle pointed into my leg. Some parents objected to a couple of swear words in the first chapter. People say pigs don't feel. The thing that I questioned was, had the parents read the book? All I know is that Pinky sure knew who I was, and her tail did too.
I've lived in Fort Fry School District about 15 years. I'm the mother of 9 children ranging in age from 18 to 39. And 6 of these children have graduated from the Fort Fry School.
I went around back and called Pinky, but she wouldn't come and she was too darn big to push.
I felt my child was trapped in a classroom situation, have to listen to and read this book. And maybe he liked it, maybe he didn't. Maybe I didn't like it, but I felt that he should have a choice.
I think that we would not use a book unless we were sure, and so we would consult with one another. If you were going to use a new book, we'd say, what about this in the 8th grade, and we'd talk about it.
If parents objected to a book, we asked them to fill out a complaint form so we would have some concrete basis for discussion. There's always the possibility of an alternative assignment for that child. Often when parents challenge a book, the book is just a focal point, something tangible to lash out at, and the real issue may be much larger. The books that have been questioned in the Fort Fry School District are often the same books that have been questioned across the nation. The same kinds of concerns that parents feel here are the concerns that parents feel everywhere. They're anxious about their children becoming adults in such an imperfect world, and teachers are concerned too.
I did my student teaching in a very turbulent time, and I had my first year of teaching in a very turbulent community, and I was used to that. And I did not have positive feelings. In fact, I felt very badly because I thought, how can they feel this way? Where's the old feeling of trusting the teacher? So no, I did not have good feelings about the community.
We were really thinking about...
I was chairperson of the English department at Fort Fry when Books Our Children Read began. Alan Stacy had come to me in a state of despair because rumors were flying that a dirty book had been assigned in the junior high English classes.
We felt, boy, we have to do something about this. And we got together and talked about it and said, well, what can we do? I mean, how do we talk to these people that we don't know, people that are saying things and yet there are no faces there? We have a specific idea in mind. We're not just here to raise money. We're not going to ask for any donations tonight, nothing, okay?
So we decided to extend an invitation to ask the parents to come in and look at the book as the students did, to walk through some of the things we did with the book.
I don't know. That's where it's got to be with the parents being involved in their reading habits and in what they read.
We need to hear complaints once in a while, but we need to hear them face to face.
Send them all to Terry.
Right, send them all to me. No, we need to hear them face to face, and then once we are face to face, you realize you don't have that much to gripe about anyway, because we're such wonderful faces, I think.
I decided that I'd look into it. I wasn't real sure that I was going to get involved, but I thought I at least owed it to the school and the teachers and my children as well to just see what it was all about. Can you believe my reaction to that book was, it doesn't belong in 7th grade? And that was what I felt. There were some places in there, it was very detailed, and I thought, oh no, not my 7th grader.
As parents, you tend to want to protect your children. It's only normal.
I think really in the back of my mind, I thought, they're going to try to convince me of their way. It didn't take me long to find out that that wasn't it at all. They were really interested in my ideas as well. I think as far as our children are concerned, that as parents, we owe it to them to censor what they read and to kind of guide them. I know when they get to be juniors and seniors, this is a little beyond us. By then, you know, they have formed their own ideas. But I do think that we owe it to our 12, 13-year-olds in that age group to censor what they read.
This was the first year that I had got involved in the books our children read. The teachers had sent home a notice that they were going to be discussing a book or books. John is a sophomore at Fort Fry High School. He's 15 years old. Karen is in the junior high school at Fort Fry. She's 13 years old. Maria is in the 2nd grade. She's 7. And Catherine is 5 years old. She's in kindergarten at Beverly Elementary School. Hey, Catherine, you gonna pray?
That's right.
Bless us, O Lord, and these thy gifts, which we are about to receive from thy bounty through Christ our Lord. Amen. At first, I just thought that I probably wouldn't have time to go because my evenings are very busy. It gives you a chance to share your feelings and your thoughts with your children about what they are reading. Whenever you watch television, you're watching them together, and so you maybe comment on them. So I think it's good to do that with the books, too.
I think when I censor a book for my child, that I have to look at my standards and what I expect of my children and in my family.
That we do need others to support us.
Maybe there is something in a book that is offensive to my religion, and I would prefer that my child does not get into this at this time in life.
I'm old-fashioned in a lot of ways, but I'm trying to be a little bit more liberal, but then I'm trying not to be so liberal to let loose of my values.
I think at the same time you got to say, I'm proud of my values, and I want you to have the same values.
Protect us from all anxiety.
Students come to the school in trust from the parents.
We don't want a parent or a few parents to impose their value system on everyone else. But at the same time, we want to respect their values.
I think it's the responsibility of the school to help students discover what their values are, not to impose values.
As an educator, particularly if you are living in one small community, you want to expose the students to the world at large. You don't want them to read all one type of literature or all one author. That, to me, would defeat the purpose of education.
What do you feel about Shakespeare?
I never saw that side of him before.
My first reaction always is, I know my child better than anybody else. This was one thing that made parents feel threatened. I don't want this teacher taking my place, and this is what they felt at this time.
Why was this one different?
This was more humorous.
Thanks, courteous. I'll do shield thee well for this. But what see I? No Thisbe do I see. O wicked wall, through whom I see no bliss, cursed be thy stones for thus deceiving me. This was a play in a play, you know, and when we were in the play, we were in a play in a play. If Because we were the play in the play that they were watching. And when at the end, we got out of the play in the play and just became in the play.
Mr. Ashbury had started life as a bootblack in the growing town of Cadgers. From this, he had risen one step and become porter and messenger in a barber shop. It was in this place that Mr. Ashbury set up his shop, and he won the hearts of his prospective customers by putting up the significant sign, Equal Rights Barbershop. Okay, we came up with a list of groups yesterday that you thought you were prejudiced against in this area. They're listed on the board there that we voted the top 3, blacks, foreigners, and welfare.
One of the reasons that maybe parents won't come like to school and talk to teachers, because here are parents talking to people with degrees, you know, and we're thinking, this is going to be a wasted cause, I can see it already, you know, because they're intimidated by this diploma you have that says you are a certified teacher.
What can they do as a group to get rid of their image? Or is it up to them to get rid of it?
We'd learned in school that the city of London, England, is the largest city in the whole wide world. Maybe so, but it couldn't have been much bigger than Rutland.
When parents object to a book, they may not be objecting to the book per se. They may be expressing a fear of how that book will be handled in the classroom.
Covering her cake board with the flour. I followed Papa out to where we kept the tools, and I stood there watching as he sharpened the knives on the wheel. Toting some of the tools and a spine saw, I followed him out of the shed and around to the south side of the barn to where old Solomon and the capstan had pulled the corn crutch. Pinky's house. Inside it, she was lying all curled up, warm in the clean straw. It was a soft, warm smell. What is Robert noticing here, and why?
The soft, warm smell, and it was clean straw, and maybe he didn't notice that earlier on in the story when he didn't really think about anything happening in the future.
Neither the dad or the son wanted Pinky to be killed, but they knew they had to because Pinky was bred and they found out she was barren and they needed the meat for the family. It was a hard year.
I think lots of times it's easier, particularly for children at this age, to discuss a character and the parent in a book than it is to discuss themselves, and then we kind of draw parallels. And they know and we know that they're really discussing their own feelings and asking for our feelings.
He's mad at his father. He's feeling pity for himself because he doesn't have anything to call his own anymore.
Okay, there's a fine line between love and hate. And I think that's what this chapter's talking about. Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference. I always find it interesting when people talk about the fact that teachers should not be teaching values in the classroom. All pieces of literature are teaching values and have values in them. I don't know how you can bring out the literature without discussing the values that the characters have. Yes, I think the point is that Robert is taking charge of the farm here. You're not promoting one value over another, but you are exposing them to certainly a variety of value systems in preparation for what's to come. Neither one of us wore gloves, and I knew how cold that crowbar felt. I'd carried it, and it was colder than death. Back away, he said. Papa, I said, I don't think I can. That ain't the issue, Rob. We have to.
It was just that he's sort of getting the feeling of death because of that cold bar. It's not really death, but it's as cold, and he sort of realizes what it'd be like to be dead. You'd be cold and you wouldn't have no feelings, and he sort of got the feeling by that bar.
Most people think that pigs are just things that you use meat for, to eat, but he was feeling that Pinky's more than a pig to him. He feels love to her.
I see no problem with the day no pigs would die. I guess the people were disturbed by it because they're not used to it. There were a few places where the descriptiveness was pretty clear, and it just made you feel like you was right there experiencing it.
Sections in the book of A Day No Pigs Would Die about the animals and mating and this type of thing, it's nothing to the kids here. It's every day. It's life. The question that I have is that maybe we should keep exposing our kids to the human sexual things that go on, and maybe it won't be that big of a deal to them. Just like it is with the kids here, with the animals. That's life.
But then the teacher sent home the Forever book, and my daughter showed me a section or two of it that I just was a little bit shocked by.
But you know what slayed me? I opened the book up. I'm getting ready to read this forever. I've heard everybody talk about it. The first paragraph, first page, first line was Sybil Davidson has this genius IQ, has already been laid 6 times. And I'm flabbergasted. I'm thinking, good God.
I think the kids are probably just reading it to find all those explicit places, because that's what my kids brought it home. They opened it up and they showed me, I don't know what page it was.
At first I thought that they was going to use it as part of the curriculum, and it really shocked me.
But Sybil didn't, because she slept with anybody, you know. It was fine.
But then I realized that it was just to let us be aware of what is available for our children to read.
And I didn't know what they were all laughing about, because I had never seen the book or the cover or anything. So they took it in the bedroom and they go directly to these passages, you know. Well, after you had given me the book, I looked for her other book, you know, and they have hidden it. So they just get it out and point to certain pages, you know.
I don't want to go ahead and read it or pitch it in the trash can. I don't know what to do with it. So I went ahead and I finished reading it. And it told about Sybil getting pregnant and her giving the baby away. But I don't think it went into enough of what Sybil went through giving the baby away and after she gave it away.
There's a point. How will this relationship end? You know, and I think it is brought up in the book. This relationship does end. It can end.
You're not a friend. You're a sexual partner. You know, it's the most forever thing you think you're going to ever experience, but it's not. I'm no longer married.
Need a French toast special, scrambled and coffee, sausage overnight, home fries, and coffee.
I'm kind of conservative in my thinking towards my children. They aren't pressing to grow up real fast. They love what they're doing. You know, they love their sports and they love the things they're in. I take a lot of time with my children. I like to know what they're studying, what they're into, and I try to keep up with that. If they read a book I think is a little too old for them or whatever, ask me a question about it. I usually answer it, and then I try to explain the reason for my answer. You ever try to do that? You know, lots of times they'll read something and want to know, well, what does this mean? This word they don't even understand. And I'll say, well, let's go look it up. If the summary's not very good, you don't read the book? No. I don't have a fear of them reading the book. I just want them to understand what they're reading. Lots of times they put their own feelings behind something that they read, and they misinterpret what they've read.
Yep. We'll just put your name on it today, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
I had a student in my class talk about it and say, we read it at a slumber party. They stayed up all night and read it. Well, now, some of those girls were probably ready to read that book, but not all of them were. And the girl who was telling me certainly was not.
2 more runabout. I want 2 in mine too. I love my dog.
When you're younger, 14, 15, 16, you think you know a lot more than you do. And you've listened to what the adults say or whatever, and you experiment and you experience things, but you're not thinking as an adult. You're in your mind, you're still a child in many ways.
I know a lot of people say, you know, you can't be corrupted by a book, but there again, if we're going to say you can't be corrupted by a book, we're going to have to say you can't learn anything from it.
I see these 2 teenagers watching the sexy girls on television. Oh, it's so fantastic. It's so great. It's the most important thing in the world. In the book, the point is brought out. It isn't always great. And I try to think of a way, how can I discuss this?
I wish boys were here. Why do you wish boys were here?
My daughter, 13, read 1 page out of Forever, and she came home and she said, Mom, I wouldn't want to read that book. And she said, you don't want to read it.
Well, okay, we'll get on this one. Every night I watch the sunset. Who's that? Debbie, why'd you write that?
I don't know, just because I like the sunsets.
It hurts me to think that our children would have to grow up so soon. I don't believe my 13-year-old needs to know these things yet.
When can you date?
I don't know.
I don't know, probably 16, 15. We really haven't talked about it.
My daughter and I were talking about the book. She evidently has not picked up a great deal because she said, Mom, they were doing things that people don't do. And I thought, oh my gosh. So we had quite an area to cover there. And I wouldn't have realized it if the book hadn't come up.
Probably the movies or something rather. That's all what you read about in the books.
There isn't that much difference in kids anywhere. I don't care where you come from. There's not that much difference in kids. There's not that much difference in people. What we basically think is the same. And kids' emotions and the patterns that they follow are basically the same.
Students want to move beyond where they are. They like books like Judy Blume's because they take them beyond where they are now. They, in a sense, let them try out what it's going to be like to be older.
I mean, I think you shouldn't have sexual experiences until you are married. Nowadays, it's all completely different than that, you know. So I'm the old fogey. We've been led to think that, oh, we have to go with the times, you know, and this is not the modern thinking.
A lot of parents, when they first pick up a book like Forever and they have objections to it, feel slightly betrayed. And you see the sexual thing rather than what the main purpose of the book is, which is really to show that sometimes high school dating situations do not have to be a forever situation.
Here, the 7th graders are mixed with the high school kids. And they listen to high school kids, and they talk about this kind of stuff all the time. You can listen to it walking down the halls. You can hear them girls just as well as the boys saying words that you mothers would never think of. You moms, and you talk with your kids, but they would never tell you everything.
But a lot of times when kids start dating here, they seem to think that the very first person they end up going steady with is the person they're going to end up marrying. That's just the way it's going to be. And sometimes that's true, but they don't know how to go about breaking up with someone because they don't want to be faced with walking down the hall by themselves. And I think those are the important things that come out in Forever.
Ladies and gentlemen, this year's homecoming queen for the 1983-84 school year is
Jennifer White.
You have to make a teaching experience out of something like Forever. But you can't start whenever they're 7th grade, 8th grade. You've got to start when they're little.
Well, and the time goes so quickly between Green Eggs and Ham and Forever.
And Forever.
I am Sam. Sam, I am.
I think all of this makes us realize that life in general is just going very fast for all of us. My mother thought I was growing up too fast when I was 13. Her mother thought she was moving too fast when she was 13. And everybody says that for every generation.
Here or there, I will not eat them anywhere. I do not like green eggs and ham. I do not like them, Sam, I am.
'Tis a gift to be simple, 'tis a gift to be free, 'tis a gift to come down where we ought to be. And when we find ourselves in the place just right, we'll be in the valley of love and delight.
There's nothing that you can do. After a certain point, your child has to make his own decisions. He's going to be alone. You're not going to be holding his hand all the time. You hope your child has enough sense or common sense and uses it.
On the TV and everything, parents are so wise and they know just the right answer. And I wish somebody would make more of a point of that. We didn't get any special training and we don't know the right answers.
Sometimes we're afraid to hear what they have to say to us. If it's something really serious and we think we can't handle it.
I wish this room was full to the limit with people that would come out just to discuss their child's viewpoint on something. It sure would make a difference.
If you want to gossip, if you want to complain about something, here's your opportunity to do something. And if you don't do it, then all your complaining doesn't mean a thing to me. It's just wanting to talk.
At least it's opened it up for those that really were concerned and really did want to know. There was an avenue open there that they could pursue if they wanted to. If they didn't, well, I just felt that was their loss. Anybody that's read a lot knows that you can get something completely different from a book than I would. And I think this is what the teachers were trying to tell us. They have a classroom full of different people. And because I didn't think this book was good for my child, I didn't have the right to say it wasn't good for somebody else's.
It's not the 100% answer. Not everybody is going to be pleased with what's done, and not everybody's going to agree.
Sometimes when I explain this program to colleagues around the country, they'll ask me, well, how did you finally get through to them? But they don't understand that what we were doing was not confrontational. It was a kind of an extension of what education ought to be, wrestling with ideas and respecting one another's points of view. And we had people come to our program who were not there to confront, but who were there because they loved literature and they wanted to talk to someone about it. A Day No Pigs Would Die. Spoon River Anthology, Hiroshima, Studs Terkel's Working, My Name is Asher Lev, Black Boy, To Kill a Mockingbird, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Of Mice and Men, short stories of Kurt Vonnegut, Huckleberry Finn, The Grapes of Wrath, The Diary of Anne Frank, The Literature of the Bible, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, Desire Under the Elms, East of Eden, Jonathan Swift's A Modest Proposal, Notes of a Native Son, The Merchant of Venice, All Quiet on the Western Front, The American Heritage Dictionary, Lord of the Flies.